What up, family?
We back with another Nick Crowley, y'all.
Yes.
He just dropped one. Yeah, the other day.
23 hours ago.
Y'all done hit us up too. He dropped YouTube's Darkest Channel 7. None of that talking.
I hold up 2.
Yeah. Another 5 of that. No talking, man. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's see what's going on. Like it up, gang. Run them likes up.
I'll tell you what we're going to do today more than anything else. We're going to do this. Nice guy must die. Nice guy must die.
Nice guy must die.
Nice guy must die.
Oh, this better be some dark stuff.
Little Nick got a good one.
This is my house from the street. Here's my car. This is a 2-bedroom brick ranch, conveniently located.
It's the final day of February 2008. A 47-year-old man living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, named George Sodini, publishes his very first video to YouTube under the channel MOS B46PGH.
I paid $79,000 for this in 1996. That's considered a lot, believe it or not.
The upload, titled How George Pittsburgh Lives, was almost like an old-school house tour of sorts, as George proudly displays the outside of his home, before then doing the same inside.
Open it up. Oh, someone left it unlocked. That's not good. Inside, okay. Pan to the other side.
Seemingly making a point of mentioning every minute feature in the otherwise dim and empty home.
Here's my big screen TV. It's my computer, couch and chair, they match. Dining room set, shoebox full of old pictures.
To anyone who may have stumbled upon this strange video or Sodini's channel in general back in 2008, it would likely come off as entirely uninteresting and far from anything disturbing. However, to those who find it today, this couldn't be more different, as the account carries with it a layer of disturbing context due to the events that transpired after this first video was published. Events that have since transformed the MOS B46PGH page into one of YouTube's darkest channels.
Please meet every woman's dream.
Do something so she remembers your name.
Keep your mate with you. Make sure he's someone you can trust. Just be careful, is all I can say.
I'm gonna post this and see what comes back. Little hallway, 2 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms. To the right is my bedroom.
Without any context, it's hard to know what the purpose of George Sodini's first video was, if it even had one at all. The entire thing just felt so random. But within the footage itself was one clue that hints at the fact that George actually had a very specific reason for uploading this, with that clue coming in the form of a book on his coffee table.
Okay, come over here. There's some reading material that we're all familiar with.
It was called How to Date Young Women for Men Over 35, which was about as creepy as it sounded.
Exactly.
First guest today is a 51-year-old bachelor who says if you're a single woman over 30, you're a dating has-been. Please meet every woman's dream, Don Steele.
Its author, Don Steele, had made a living as a dating counselor and life coach, creating various books and programs that were geared towards socially awkward men, exploiting them with a promise that someday they'll be able to get the younger girl of their dreams, even after they reached middle adulthood, and all that they had to do was pay for his course, pay for the book, and dedicate themselves to becoming more desirable. And George Sodini was the perfect target. Despite having a successful career as a systems analyst at a law firm, he struggled to maintain any relationships with the women that he met. It had been well over a decade since he last had a girlfriend, and despite desperately wanting one, George just seemed to lack the ability to connect with women on any level, even as just friends. And as his isolation began to grow, so too did his obsession with finding a girlfriend. George had nearly given up these pursuits too, until he was introduced to Don Steele's course, viewing the program as his last real shot at human connection, obsessively reading the book to the point that he was supposedly able to recite passages by memory alone. On top of this, he would also attend many of this supposed guru's in-person seminars, with some of his visits even being captured on camera and later posted onto Don Steele's YouTube channel.
It used to be down here. It's called a codpiece, and it's gradually over the years moved up here. So it's read like an erect you-know-what.
And it was in these courses where George was subjected to all sorts of bizarre and unsettling ideology.
Turn around here and look at me, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do today more than anything else. We're gonna do this. Nice guy must die.
But despite agreeing with this man wholeheartedly and following all of his work, George was still making very little progress, which was evident by the footage of him attending these seminars, as he appears incredibly nervous and kept mainly to himself. And so, recognizing that George had much to improve on, he was given an assignment by one of his instructors. He was told to film a video of his house, so that the instructors and everyone else in the class could see if he was really making himself and his environment desirable enough to any woman who might come over.
Okay, couch and chair, they match. The woman will really be impressed.
Knowing this, the footage feels so much lonelier, as it was almost like he was trying to sell his way of living as being good enough for a partner that he was really no closer to finding. There's something so depressing about it. And this wasn't his only video.
It is easy for me to hide from my emotions for one more day. Take a long drive in the car, listen to some music, daydream, or just do some mundane task around the house that really doesn't need to be done, that's not too important. And there you go, one more day, and one more day turns into one more year.
Months later, on June 23rd, 2008, George would return with an upload he had filmed inside of his basement. And in it, we get more insight on just how severe his isolation had become, though he still held on to a sliver of optimism thanks to Don Steele's course.
Now, RDS says that I have approximately maybe 15 more years to be successful at this. And when I heard that, I wanted to continue immediately to start moving on this. I didn't realize I had that much time. So my objective is to be real and to learn to be emotional and to be able to emotionally connect with people.
Before he eventually reverts back to talking about his uncanny desire to find a younger woman.
Because when I'm 10 to 20 years older than she is, she has to feel good about this thing.
Ending the video with hints of an uncertain future.
I'm going to post this and see what comes back.
He would never upload again. And soon after, it appears George gave up trying, essentially accepting his life of loneliness. But while this would be the last video made to his channel, he wouldn't leave the internet entirely. Soon after this final video was posted, a website was launched called GeorgeSodini.com, which served as a place for George to blog about his emotions. And while something like this could have been beneficial for him, this website would instead only serve to capture his descent into madness. An immediate red flag was raised by the very first text you see on the website, as George wrote, "Why do this? To young girls? Just read below. I kept a running log that includes my thoughts and actions after I saw this project was going to drag on," with the line serving as some sort of bizarre disclaimer, though with no other context. George's entries began. December 22nd, 2008. Time is moving along. Plan to have this done already. I will just keep a running log here as time passes. Many of the young girls here look so beautiful as to not be human. Very edible. After joining this gym, started lifting weights and like it. This early post encapsulates what this vlog would be focused on. Young women he would see throughout the day, his time at the gym, and his plan. This plan was never expressly stated on the website, but it was something he obsessed over, mentioning it in every single one of his posts and dubbing it the exit plan, even going as far as to provide a date and time for it, January 6th, 2009 at 8:15 p.m. Before this day would come, however, he would provide further insight into just how lonely he was. Moving into Christmas again. Last Christmas with Pam was in 1983. Who knows why? I'm not ugly or too weird. No sex since January 1990 either. I was 29. No shit. Over 18 years ago. I actually look good. I dress good. I'm clean shaven, bathe, touch of cologne. Yet 30 million women reject me. Over an 18 or 25 year period. That's how I see it. 30 million is my rough guesstimate of how many desirable single women there are. With several other posts of the same nature, the day eventually came for his big exit plan, January 6th, with George writing one message that afternoon. I can do this. This log is not detailed. It is only for confidence to do this. The future holds even less than what I have today. It is 6:40 p.m., about an hour and a half to go. God have mercy. I wish life could have been better for all, and the crazy world can somehow run smoother. I wish I had answers. Bye. Despite this appearing to be his final post, George Sodini wasn't quite finished, as he would come back only hours later, writing simply, "It's 8:45 p.m. I chickened out. Shit. I brought the loaded guns, everything."
What the heck?
Whatever George Sodini had been planning that day, it was clear that his exit plan was something incredibly disturbing, and based on his use of guns, plural, It was likely not just an exit plan for himself. But thankfully, he didn't go through with it. In fact, he seemed to have dropped the plan entirely, as months would go by without any update to his blog. Though this wouldn't last, as in April of 2009, he began posting yet again, with these entries being even more disturbing. July 23rd, 2009. Wow, I just looked out my front window and saw a beautiful college-age girl leave Bob's house across the street. I guess he got a good lay today. College girls are hoes. I masturbate frequently. He is about 45 years old. She was long-haired, hot little hottie with a beautiful bod. I masturbate frequently. The strangest part of this entire...
You gotta watch out for the people like him.
Sick. Like, that's your problem. You desiring a younger woman. Why not
sick.
because someone on your age? I'm pretty sure somebody would have want you. You desiring...
You desiring younger. I can see if he was talking about a couple years younger, but he's talking about like a big age gap.
College. What?
Then you talking about what you doing when you see them and stuff like and
call them a hoe.
Your neighbor must have had a good lay and stuff like that. Those are the
How
type
do you
neighbors
even
you
know-
have.
How do you even know that they even getting laid? Like, you just thinking that in your head because that's what you want.
That's what he want. Yeah, he's building that
Fantasy. In your head. Oh my God.
But you know, if you stay in apartments and stuff, you got those kind of people out there too.
You really
just
do.
Looking
You just
out
don't
and
never know, like, who just looking at women or anybody.
looking at kids, anything, just looking on the balcony, looking at the window, just being weird.
Website was, according to... I masturbate frequently. The strangest part of this entire website was, according to those he worked with and the neighbors, they all thought George was normal. A little off, sure, but it appeared that these disturbing thoughts and plans were kept solely in his blog and solely in his mind. But on July 28th, 2009, this would all change. George had boarded a Port Authority bus that day and took a seat, carrying with him some sort of duffel bag, and as the ride commenced, he unzipped the bag and began to fiddle with something inside of it. An anonymous man sitting next to him noticed this and curiously leaned over to see what he was doing. In George Sodini's hand was what appeared to be a grenade.
What?
The stunned passenger ran off at the next stop and immediately alerted the police. But bizarrely, nothing actually came of this. No explosions happened that day, and upon police eventually tracking down Sodini 2 days later, he was searched, but there was no sign of this supposed grenade, and the man who had reported this incident was unable to positively identify him. And so, George was released, allowing him to continue on with his day, and to continue on with his posting. August 3rd, 2009. I took off today, Monday, and tomorrow to practice my routine and make sure it was well polished. I need to work out every detail. There is only one shot. Also, I need to be completely immersed into something before I can be successful. I haven't had a drink since Friday at about 2:30. Total effort needed. Tomorrow is the big day. Last time I tried this in January, I chickened out. Let's see how this new approach works. Maybe soon, I will see God and Jesus. This was the final update made to GeorgeSodini.com, and unlike his previous attempt at carrying out this exit plan, this time, he didn't back out. On August 4th, 2009, George Sodini would enter an LA Fitness in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania, and walk directly into a woman's aerobics class with a duffel bag in his hand. He then dropped his bag on the floor with a loud bang before he closed the door and shut off all the lights. In a moment of darkness and confusion, one witness recalled that she felt the presence of someone who didn't belong there. Before total panic would ensue, everyone was just screaming so loud. At first, I didn't even think shots were being fired. It was so surreal. At that moment, George Sodini had brandished 2 guns from his bag and opened fire on the group of 30, all of whom were women, which was entirely the point.
I can't stand people.
In that dark, cramped room, George would discharge his weapon 52 times, striking 12 different women and then himself. Of the injured, 49-year-old Elizabeth Gannon, 38-year-old Jody Billingsley, and 46-year-old Heidi Overmeyer would tragically lose their lives, while the others were left with permanent injuries, both physical and mental. It wasn't hard to find a motive. George had spelled it out right there in his blog. He desired women so much that his inability to ever gain a real connection with any of them turned his infatuation into pure hatred. And this is how he wanted to make them pay. And the ironic part is that this was all so avoidable, as these plans were heavily implied on his website, which had been publicly available online for roughly an entire year. Yet no one cared enough about him to ever look.
Coward.
It is easy for me to hide from my emotions for one more day.
Knowing what we know now, George's channel is highly disturbing. as it shows us a glimpse into a mind on the verge of completely snapping in a last gasp attempt at achieving normalcy by a person who would go on to become a monster when he didn't get what he wanted.
Just everything I need. Well,
imagine him even being in a relationship with somebody when they don't do something that he don't want, like that they don't want to do, and he just get mad and just snap or something like, oh, you are just a bad person.
Man. He said he all around
like,
us.
what?
You just went there. Innocent women.
Right, innocent women, just because
you can't get nobody right now. I mean,
at the time.
At the time. Act like your world, your life was over.
Oh my God.
Didn't get what he wanted.
Just everything I need. Well, that about sums it up.
Hi guys, I am with Lewis. Just having a little drink.
Mark Williams always dreamed of being a YouTuber. He had grown up watching parkour content on the site, becoming attached to both its many talented creators and the hobby itself, eventually becoming so inspired by it that he launched his own channel in 2019, at the age of just 15, with Mark hoping that someday this channel would make that dream of his come true. The page went by many names over the years, but eventually Mark would settle on the moniker Displace, and depending on who you ask, his videos were either extremely impressive or extremely irresponsible. They showed scenes of Mark high atop buildings, jumping rooftop to rooftop, climbing on massive abandoned cranes, and fleeing from security guards and the cops on more than a few occasions.
Please go on the way already now.
Yeah, but catch me then, won't they?
Often seen with him was his younger brother, who he had grown incredibly close with, which was due in part to the fact that Mark was somewhat of a loner and didn't have many friends in his own personal life. Though according to his mother, this wasn't necessarily by choice, as she explained that he did desperately want friendship, and he was incredibly caring. He just had a habit of making the wrong friends, describing Mark as trusting to a fault. Mark's longing for camaraderie became especially apparent not long after the launch of Displace, as his brother slowly began appearing less and less in his videos, forcing him to do these free runs by himself, which he implied was something he didn't enjoy nearly as much.
My brother, who was part of the channel, Ben, he's not now. I don't think he's coming back at all. He ditched me, leaving me by myself, and I've got problems talking to myself as well.
This, coupled with the fact that he was dealing with the tribulations of growing up, led to his uploads on the channel becoming more and more sporadic, as he would often go dark for a few months, only to return with the promise of more consistent uploads.
Alright guys, don't know if you can see me or not, but I promise you Displace is coming back.
That often never came. It was clear that he still longed to be a YouTuber, he just needed some sort of a spark. And sure enough, at the end of 2020, he would find one right in his own comment section. In a since-deleted video, Mark would receive a comment from a man named Lewis Ashdown, who explained that he was a big fan of Mark's content and that he would love to join him in an upcoming video, as they both just so happened to live in Uckfield. It was exactly what Mark had been needing, a friend. And not only a friend, but a friend he could make videos with. And so that's exactly what he would do.
Hi guys, I'm back here with Lewis. And we're going to do the water treatment facility in Uckfield on the industrial estate. See you in a sec, guys.
From their first meeting on, Lewis became a core part of the Displaced channel, leading to the two growing closer by the day, with Mark speaking about this bond on a live stream in March of 2021.
If you're going exploring at an abandoned pub, yeah, keep your mate with you, make sure he's someone you can trust, you know, and be careful is all I can say. Because in the video where me and Lewis climbed the college, you know, I was constantly looking out for him, because it did get dangerously close to some of the edges, but you know, that's what life's about, isn't it?
But despite finding his new parkour partner, Mark still had other issues getting in the way of his uploads, as he was now 18 years old, and was facing the reality of having to get a job, forcing him to put his channel on the back burner. Mark discussed this struggle and the many others he was facing at the time in that same March livestream, with his tone about Displace's future sounding less than optimistic.
I've been doing some talking with Lewis, seeming like he wants to get back into climbing and stuff. I haven't actually done it since Christmas, and I've got a bad back, right? It's been getting worse and worse lately. Don't know why. I need to go to the hospital and have myself checked out. I am not sure where my channel is going to go. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing these videos. I don't know if I'm going to be doing different videos, or whether I'm going to stop completely.
But unlike other times when he had gotten down on his channel, this time he wasn't alone. and his friend Lewis was there to have his back, as he pushed Mark to continue his work, even showing up in the comments of this livestream under the name Moral Unknown, where he went as far as to offer up a potential location that they could film their next video in order to get Mark re-inspired. Will do Buxted Hotel first video back? And sure enough, just days later, the two would arrive at Buxted Hotel to begin filming yet another video.
Hi guys, I am with Lewis. Just having a little drink.
This would be their last on the Displaced channel, as not even 2 months after it was uploaded, both Mark Williams and Lewis Ashdown would vanish without a trace.
Disappear.
What happened?
It was the waning hours of Saturday, May 29th, 2021. Mark met Lewis at the Maresfield Recreation Ground to have a few drinks and discuss their next potential video. Though once there, it was the drinks that took priority, and very quickly Mark had become intoxicated, leading to him calling his house to tell his aunt, who he had been living with, that he would be heading back now. On the call, his aunt could tell that he was drunk, but Lewis chimed in to assure her not to worry, telling her, "I'll get him home safe," which made his aunt feel slightly better. After all, it was only a short few-minute walk back to the house anyway. Instead, 12 hours would pass, and Mark still hadn't made it back, while Lewis himself also failed to arrive home. At some point during their short walk back, both boys had disappeared. They were reported as missing the very next morning, and the area they were last in was combed thoroughly, though very little was uncovered. Around them had been large pockets of forest and murky bodies of water, leading to some questioning if perhaps the boys had gotten lost, or even had fallen into the water. Though regardless of the theories, as a full 24 hours passed, many began to fear the worst, until something strange happened. Reports began pouring in from witnesses claiming to have seen Lewis. Some thought they saw him leaving a local pub the morning after he supposedly had gone missing, while others had seen him at a local movie theater, seemingly completely unaware that the whole town was looking for him. These sightings introduced the possibility that the boys were perhaps runaways, causing several pleas to be made throughout the press, begging them to come back home. But it would be the police who would find Lewis first, tracking him down at his friend named Liam Hansen's house. There, the cops fired off a barrage of questions, as they not only tried to get answers as to where the boys had been, but more importantly now, they needed to know where Mark was.
Yeah.
Throughout all the sightings, it was only ever Lewis that had been spotted. And even now, after searching this friend's home, Mark wasn't there either. So where had Mark Williams gone?
Right.
Well, Lewis himself offered very little, outright refusing to speak on the boys' whereabouts. But his friend Liam wasn't so quiet, as when he was questioned separately, he claimed to know exactly what had happened on the night of May 29th, 2021, the day in which both boys had disappeared. And he knew because Lewis had told him. According to the boy, the night that Lewis and Mark had met at the park, Lewis poured a cocktail for his friend, and then another, and then another, each one stronger than the last, causing Mark to become drunk almost immediately. Realizing he was drinking too much, Mark told Lewis that he had enough. But Lewis persisted, outright demanding that he keep drinking, leading to Mark begging Lewis to let him stop. At one point, Mark's pleas finally caused Lewis to back off, as the boy instead agreed to make him a non-alcoholic drink, only for him to fill the cup with even more liquor when Mark wasn't looking. Yes. By 11:30, Mark could barely stand, prompting him to make that phone call to his aunt, letting her know that he would be back soon. Meanwhile, Lewis had been so preoccupied with getting his friend drunk that he was still fairly sober at this point, and in his sober state, he promised Mark's aunt that he would get him home safe. Seconds after that phone call ended, Mark hunched over to vomit, which is precisely when Lewis pulled a large kitchen knife from his pocket and plunged it directly into Mark's back.
Come on, man.
Why?
Mark stumbled and asked Lewis to call him an ambulance, being unable to comprehend what had just happened, to which Lewis responded by laughing, before doing it again. And again, and again.
Boy, sick.
This is what Lewis had told Liam in the days after the alleged attack, but as Liam recounted the story to the police, he made it clear that this wasn't just a tall tale, as he had actually seen it for himself. When Lewis had told him the story, he pulled out his phone and put it up to Liam's face, revealing that he had filmed the entire ordeal. And sure enough, when police searched Lewis's devices, they would find that footage, though it was far worse than they ever could have imagined. On Lewis Ashdown's cell phone were 7 total videos depicting the attack, with the footage spanning nearly an hour in total, during which Mark had been stabbed 107 times, on top of having a number of other sadistic things done to him. And all the while, it was said that Lewis was giggling manically. When asked about what he had seen in those
giggling.
recordings, Liam provided further detail on just how awful the attack was, recounting that he took Mark's eyes out. Proper psychotic stuff. I was going into shock. I was shocked how he came out with it. I wanted to run and tell someone. This was clearly not a normal crime. It displayed a level of evil and hatred that goes past human comprehension, and due to its brutality, police assumed that surely something must have happened between these two to breed so much hatred inside of Lewis. But according to Lewis, this wasn't actually the case. Instead, he stated that he had simply found Mark to be annoying, and that he had been wanting to kill him for some time because of this, and had just been waiting for the right moment. Plus, he always wanted to know what it was like to kill someone. And that was it. That was his entire motive. Lewis Ashdown would be arrested the day he was found, and later sentenced to life in prison, with parole eligibility in 25 years, while Mark's body was found dumped in a nearby body of water, and eventually given a proper burial.
Hi guys, I'm back here with Lewis, and we're going to do the water treatment facility.
With this context, Mark's channel is utterly
That's what we always say, watch who you with.
Watch your friend, your so-called
friends are, because like we said before in another video, he can be with you for a while, planning the whole time, figuring out your ins and outs.
You're right.
Who you deal with, all this and that, so they can know how to move on you. You gotta
know how to move.
Not saying look at your friends crazy, but just be a little more alert.
If they try to make you do things that you normally don't do, or like how he was forcing them to drink more.
Yeah.
But, you know, like keep on drinking. You know, he probably
Real
just
friend would be
thinking
like,
you know, probably, and you know, he probably was thinking like, you know, we having fun, you know. But,
yeah.
Then you had the nerve to tell that boy aunt, that was his aunt or mom or somebody, right?
I think so, yeah.
That yeah, I'll make sure he get home safe, and you did
Gotta
that.
watch those people. Gotta watch them.
The water treatment facility.
With this context, Mark's channel is utterly devastating. All he wanted was a friend to film videos with. But sure enough, as his mother had warned, he was trusting to a fault.
If you're going exploring at an abandoned pub, yeah, keep your mate with you. Make sure he's someone you can trust, you know, and be careful.
Which brings us to a disturbing revelation. Just months before he would kill Mark, Lewis was the one that encouraged him to get back out there and film with him. And based on his testimony that he had been wanting to kill Mark for a long time, it makes it very clear that he was doing this not to be a good friend, but to get Mark alone in an isolated spot, so that he could carry out his plan. And adding more weight to this theory, when they visited the Buxted Hotel, which Lewis himself had suggested during the livestream, Mark was uncharacteristically drunk.
Hi guys, I am with Lewis. Just having a little drink. Okay, so we'll smash this after we smash these.
Which was never really part of his channel before that upload. And Lewis was uncharacteristically nervous.
We're going to do a couple more bangers. Can't tell you what they are in case anyone's watching that shouldn't be watching. Who's watching? Well, no, I mean watching the videos. Because yeah, I know that the police do watch my channel sometimes.
Paranoid even of being caught by the cops, despite being totally unfazed in previous videos, where in some he was literally being chased by security guards. And coincidentally, by the end of this video, we get an indication as to why Lewis was so nervous. Because he had been carrying a knife. All this leads me to believe that that night, Lewis pushed Mark to film a video in an abandoned location, then got him drunk, and was going to carry through with the murder, before eventually backing out for unknown reasons. And all the while, Mark was completely unaware, never once suspecting that the man he had been filming with had secretly been plotting to kill him, and one day would actually go through with it.
Okay, I'll wrap it up now then, guys. Yeah, I'll see ya.
Try and stay on this side and go across. Well, this should be quite amusing. Enjoy!
Joshua Brown started his YouTube channel back in 2010, a time when many individuals, including himself, used the site to upload random videos offering momentary glimpses into their lives. Joshua was in his mid-30s at the time and had recently finished serving in the Navy, before eventually settling down in Canton, Ohio, where he focused on his many passions. He loved driving, he loved technology, and he loved a little bit of danger. And soon, he became infatuated with a product that was essentially the sum of all three. For Joshua, these electric vehicles were a technological marvel and the future of the automotive industry, and he dreamed of one day having one. With that dream eventually coming true in 2015 when he would purchase his very own Tesla Model S that would eventually become his life and his YouTube channel's primary focus. He began uploading videos of his new car immediately, but rather than these focusing on the vehicle itself, it was its most controversial feature that interested him the most: autopilot. The feature had become available for Tesla drivers in October of 2015, which is exactly when Joshua purchased his car and began uploading these videos showcasing its possibilities.
It takes all the stress out of it. Get to your destination slightly slower, but hey, at least now you don't have to worry about anything. It's just let it go.
He wanted to essentially be a pioneer, providing an overview of what self-driving was really all about, breaking down the specifics and showcasing a variety of unique situations that you might find yourself in if you were to use this driving mode yourself.
This section in here is going to be very, very difficult for the car to handle. We're filming this just so that you can see scenarios where the car does not do well, so that you've got something to judge off of it when you're driving on your own.
And he tried to make a point of doing so safely, as he never used the camera behind the wheel, and always had someone helping him to avoid any accidents. But despite his focus on safety, it was clear that he was pushing the capabilities of this brand new technology, as at this point it was still in its infancy, with one of the more glaring red flags being the placement of his hands.
Here we are, stop and go traffic on 271, and geez, the car's doing it all itself.
When Joshua was shown driving, he hardly ever had his hands on the wheel, as he said he wanted to get the true experience of self-driving. This was something that Tesla had actually adamantly advised against, and even had visual and audible warnings if it detected that your hands were off the steering wheel. But Joshua seemed to find a workaround, as he instead used his legs to avoid tripping the sensor, while keeping his hands close by, ready to grab the wheel in case of an emergency.
How I actually do it is so that it is really actually hands-free, is I keep my knees up, because the tack works pretty good, but I can still get my foot down to a brake, and just keep it like this, because you can react so quickly.
It was clear that Joshua truly believed that this car that was driving him was safe, and this belief was only strengthened on April 5th of 2016. That day, Joshua had been driving his car on the interstate when a large truck suddenly merged into his lane, with its driver not even seeing his car. And before Joshua could even react, the autopilot kicked in and veered out of the way, avoiding what would have been a certain collision. Amazed by the event, Joshua would upload dashcam footage of the close call to his YouTube channel, where he praised the vehicle's response. "Tessie did great. Excellent job, Elon." This video would immediately go viral, exploding to over 4 million views between the two versions that Joshua had posted. But while the response to this video was overwhelming, especially for a channel that was accustomed to getting just a few hundred views, there was one response in particular that impacted Joshua the most. As Tesla's owner, Elon Musk, would repost the video on Twitter. Stunned by the tweet, Joshua would later state, "For something to catch Elon Musk's eye, I can die and go to heaven now." He had no way of knowing that this would not be the last time that Elon Musk would tweet about him, though his next feature would be under much different circumstances. It happened just 1 month after Joshua Brown's video had gone viral. He was driving on Highway 27 on a clear sunny day at approximately 4 p.m. With open road ahead, Joshua turned on his trusted autopilot, and it stayed in autopilot mode for over half an hour, as at this point, his trust in the car was higher than ever, causing Joshua to seemingly lose focus on the road, as he was quickly coming up on an intersection where a massive 18-wheeler had been turning left, blocking Joshua's entire lane. Joshua was seemingly so unfocused that he didn't even notice it. Even stranger, the car itself didn't detect this either, despite the entire trailer being horizontal in their lane. This was due to its pure white body, as the sun was shining so brightly against it that, for whatever reason, it became invisible to the self-driving AI. And with neither Joshua nor the car registering the danger that they were in, the vehicle would strike the trailer, going 74 miles per hour.
Oh, damn.
There were no attempts by Joshua to even move the steering wheel, and the brakes hadn't so much as been tapped. The collision happened at full speed, and it happened so fast that the car drove straight through underneath, shearing the entire top of the vehicle off, and continuing driving full speed down the road, before it would eventually crash to a halt. When the driver of the truck rushed over to see the damage, Joshua Brown was already dead, and the truck driver could hear nothing but the sound of Harry Potter.
You can own it on DVD and video. The adventure is bigger. The magic is stronger. Harry Potter, Harry Potter.
Discovered in Joshua Brown's car was a DVD player, which many believe Joshua had used to watch Harry Potter while on that drive, thus explaining why he never reacted to the impending collision. Now this is something that has been disputed by his family, and ultimately it doesn't seem to have been fully proven or disproven. But in the end, the fault of the accident was placed mainly on the driver of the truck, who had made that left turn, and Joshua Brown, who had failed to pay attention to the road, as it was revealed that during his 37-minute drive, he only had his hands on the wheel for just 25 total seconds.
Dang, yeah, he was...
Joshua Brown always wanted to be part of the innovation of Tesla's autopilot, and in doing so, he wrote himself into the history books as being the first person to ever perish in a self-driving accident. And while this is no doubt a tragedy, his death has led to numerous safety improvements and a better understanding of the self-driving technology that he had given his life to study.
I was about to say, is that kind of...
I just wanted to hop on here at the end and give a quick shout out to my friend's new podcast.
I just want to say, did he kind of speak that on himself?
When he said that? He'd give his life...
But Elon
Musk or something
heaven
like that?
now, and a month later, say he can
happened?
die now.
Right.
Or whatever like that. Then a month later,
Then that happened. That's
same
kind
car.
of...
That was creepy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Final Destination. Because that first almost accident happened. That could have been fatal too. You swerve, the car swerve wherever. Then the next one...
They always say, be careful what you say. That the
words are
that
powerful.
tongue, for real. Woo.
He said he can go ahead and die now and all this and that.
But they said that the truck driver was at fault too. So they said both of them
Both
was
of
at
them
fault.
was at fault.
Ooh, I know that truck driver feel some type of way though too. It's like I would have felt so bad that happened. Oh man, that's.
I can imagine, but he was the first person to.
He
leave from that self-driving.
He loved a Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry that happened to him, but
R.I.P. That was our guy Nick Crowley. Y'all let us know how y'all feel about the video. Don't forget to throw a thumbs up on it, please, because it helps out the channel a whole lot. What other videos y'all want to see? Drop them down below in the comment section. We'll jot them down, put them down so we get to them. Y'all know how we do. We love y'all. We catch y'all next video.
Catch y'all next one.